My boss kept my passport and said I should be grateful for the job. I handed over my passport on my first day of work. The manager, Kevin Hartwell, held out his hand before I'd even signed my paperwork. "Standard procedure," he said. "We keep all employee documents safe during your probation period." My stomach dropped. I'd heard stories about this, but I needed the job. My mother was sick back in Honduras. My little brothers needed school supplies. The remittance center was waiting for my first paycheck. "How long is probation?" I asked in my broken English. 6 weeks. Kevin smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "You'll get everything back after that." I watched him place my passport and work permit in a filing cabinet behind his desk. There was a padlock on it. The label read "Employee Docs" in thick black marker. Javier, the floor supervisor, leaned against the doorframe. He was smirking. "Don't worry. Everyone gets them back. Just do your job and don't cause problems." Kevin handed me a uniform that smelled like bleach and industrial chemicals, 2 spray bottles, a mop with a cracked handle. "Training starts now," he said. "Javier will show you the ropes." The chemicals burned my hands within the first hour. Javier demonstrated how to mix the cleaning solutions. No measurements. Just pour one bottle into another until it looked right. The smell made my eyes water immediately. "Do we get gloves?" I asked. He laughed. "Gloves are for babies. You want this job or not?" I didn't answer. I just picked up the spray bottle and started cleaning the industrial sink in front of me. The chemical ate through the grease, but it also ate through my skin. By lunchtime, my palms were bright red and stinging. Across the warehouse, I saw another woman coughing. She looked about 35, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was bent over, hand pressed against the wall, trying to catch her breath. I walked over during our 5-minute bathroom break. "Are you okay?" She waved me off. "Just a cough. It's nothing. How long have you been coughing like that?" 3 months, maybe." She straightened up, forced a smile. "I'm Maria." "You're new?" "Rosa, first day." Maria's smile faded. "Did he take your documents?" I nodded. "He took mine too, 15 weeks ago." I didn't look at a clock again until my shift ended. When I finally checked, it was 8:47 p.m. I'd been working for 14 hours straight. No lunch break. Just that one 5-minute bathroom break where I'd met Maria. My borrowed phone had 6 missed calls from my mother. I couldn't call her back. Not here. Not where Javier might hear me crying. 2 weeks later, I opened my first paycheck in the warehouse bathroom. My hands were shaking as I pulled the envelope apart. The check stub showed 70 hours worked, but I'd only been paid for 35 hours at $4.50 per hour. Total, $157.50, before taxes. I grabbed a napkin from my pocket and did the math 3 times. I'd been promised $11 an hour. 70 hours should have been $770. They'd shorted me $612.50 in 2 weeks. Someone knocked on the stall door. First time seeing the numbers? It was Maria. I could tell by her voice. I unlocked the door. "Is your check wrong too?" She gave me this bitter, exhausted laugh. "Always wrong. But what are we going to do? Call the police?" The next morning, I practiced what I would say to Kevin. I stood in the bathroom at 5:30 a.m. and whispered the words in English over and over. "My check is wrong. I think there is a mistake." I walked to his office at 6:15 before the shift started, before Javier arrived. Kevin was at his computer. He didn't look up. "Mr. Kevin," I said. My voice sounded too quiet. "My check. I think mistake." "No mistakes." He still didn't look at me. "You're new. You're slower. We adjust for productivity." "But I work 70 hours. Now he looked at me. The smile was gone. "You complain. I make 1 phone call. ICE will have you in detention before dinner." He leaned back in his chair. "Your family back home needs those dollars, right? Your mother, your brothers." How did he know about my brothers? I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. My throat closed up completely. That's what I thought. Kevin turned back to his computer. Back to work. Javier appeared in the doorway like he'd been waiting there the whole time. His hand clamped down on my shoulder, hard enough to hurt. "Smart girls don't ask questions," he said. He walked me back to the warehouse floor. His grip never loosened. That night, I sat on my mattress in the bedroom I shared with 2 other workers. They were both asleep. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and someone snoring through the wall. I pulled a small notebook from my bag. It cost $2 at the corner store. I'd bought it thinking I'd write letters to my mother, something to fill the lonely hours after work. Instead, I wrote this at the top of the first page. Week 1 to 2. Worked 70 hours. Paid $157.50. Should be $770. Stolen $612.50. I underlined the word stolen once, then twice, then a third time. The pen pressed so hard into the paper it almost ripped through. I didn't know what I was going to do with this notebook. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I needed to write it down. Needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that this wasn't normal. Every hour, every dollar, every lie. I'd write it all down. By week 5, my notebook had become something else entirely. I kept it hidden in my left shoe during every shift. The pages were filling up faster now. Not just hours and stolen wages anymore. I was writing everything. Week 3. No gloves provided. Hands cracking and bleeding. Javier said use lotion at home. Week 4. Bathroom breaks timed. Patricia got docked $15 for taking 8 minutes instead of 5. Week 5. Total stolen wages equals $3,062.50. $3,000. That number made me physically sick every time I looked at it. Maria's cough was getting worse. She'd lost weight. I could see her collarbone pressing against her uniform. During our morning shift, she had to stop working every 10 minutes to lean against the wall and catch her breath. "You need to see a doctor," I told her. She shook her head. No insurance, no papers, no money. There's a community clinic. It's free. Free doesn't mean safe. Maria wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. They ask questions at clinics. They write things down. They write things down so they can help you. Or so they can report me. I grabbed her arm. She was burning up, fever hot. Maria, you're sick, really sick. This isn't just a cough anymore. She pulled away from me, went back to spraying down the industrial fryer. The chemical mist made her cough so hard she doubled over. I made the decision for both of us. We're going Sunday, I said. I'm coming to your apartment at 9 a.m. If you don't answer, I'm breaking down your door. Maria looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Then she laughed. It turned into another coughing fit. Okay, she said when she could breathe again. Okay. The North Dallas Community Health Center was in a strip mall between a dollar store and a tax preparation office. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and coffee. There were signs in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Arabic. A nurse called Maria's name after 20 minutes. I followed her back. The doctor was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and tired shoulders. Her name tag said Dr. Patel. She listened to Maria's lungs for a long time. Too long. Her face got more serious with each breath. How long have you had this cough? Dr. Patel asked. Maria looked at me. I translated into Spanish. Maria answered. 3 months, I told the doctor. And where do you work? Maria's whole body tensed. I could see her shutting down, getting ready to lie. I answered instead. We work at a commercial cleaning company. We use industrial chemicals. Strong ones. No masks. No gloves. No ventilation. Dr. Patel's pen stopped moving. She looked up at me. No protective equipment at all? Nothing. She turned back to Maria, started asking very specific questions. What chemicals? What color were the bottles? How many hours per shift? Did Maria's chest hurt? Did she cough up anything? Maria tried to downplay it. Tried to say it wasn't that bad, that she was probably just getting over a cold. I interrupted. She can't breathe. She's losing weight. Yesterday she coughed so hard she threw up. Dr. Patel wrote everything down in Maria's chart, every single detail. Then she wrote out a prescription and handed it to Maria. You have chemical pneumonia, she said. She spoke slowly so Maria could understand. Early stage bronchitis. Your lungs are damaged from breathing toxic chemicals without protection. Maria started crying. Quiet tears that she tried to wipe away before they fell. Dr. Patel pulled a business card from her desk drawer. She handed it to both of us. Carmen Rodriguez, Community Outreach Coordinator, North Texas Worker Center. She helps people in your exact situation, Dr. Patel said. Please call her. I took the card, put it in my pocket, but I didn't plan to call. Calling meant making things official. Calling meant putting my name on something. Calling meant Kevin might find out. Calling meant ICE might find out. So I thanked Dr. Patel. I helped Maria fill her prescription at the pharmacy next door. I walked her home and made her promise to take the medicine exactly like the bottle said. Then I went back to my apartment. I pulled out my notebook. I wrote, Week 5, Maria diagnosed with chemical pneumonia. Doctor says it's from work. No PPE equals permanent lung damage. I stared at Carmen Rodriguez's business card for 10 minutes. Then I put it back in my pocket and went to bed. I told myself I'd think about calling her later. When things got worse, when I had more proof, when I was braver. I told myself a lot of lies that night. The card stayed in my pocket for 3 more days. On Monday morning of week 6, I decided to try a different approach. I waited until Kevin was alone in his office. No Javier lurking in the doorway. No other workers around to hear me get shut down. I knocked. He didn't look up. Mr. Kevin, I said. I need to ask something. Make it quick. My cousin needs to see my work permit for apartment application. Can I borrow it for 1 day? His head snapped up. The look on his face made my stomach drop. What cousin? He stood up from his desk. You trying to quit? No quit. I just need papers for 1 day. Then I bring back. Kevin walked around his desk, slowly. He didn't stop until he was standing right in front of me, too close. Invading my space in a way that made my skin crawl. Here's what I think. His voice was quiet, dangerous. I think you're talking to someone. Lawyer, maybe? No. Nobody, You've been working 5 weeks now. He crossed his arms. Probation is 6 months. After 6 months, maybe we talk about documents. My brain stopped working for a second. 6 months? That's what I said. But you said 6 weeks. Did I? He smiled. I don't remember saying that. Do you have it in writing? I didn't. Of course I didn't. You have a good thing here, Rosa. Kevin's voice softened, but his eyes stayed cold. Steady work. Cash every 2 weeks. No ICE showing up at your door in the middle of the night. You're sending money home to your family, right? Your mother? Your little brothers? He knew their names. I'd never told him their names. Don't ruin a good thing, he said. 6 more months, then we'll see about your documents. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. My throat was completely closed. Kevin walked back to his desk, sat down, went back to his computer like I wasn't even there anymore. Back to work, he said without looking at me. I turned to leave. My legs felt like they weren't attached to my body. Javier was waiting in the hallway. Of course he was. He'd probably been listening the whole time. Smart girls don't push, he said. He didn't touch me. Didn't need to. The threat was clear enough without it. I went back to the warehouse floor, picked up my mop, started cleaning the same section I'd cleaned yesterday and the day before that. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the handle. 6 months. Not 6 weeks. 6 months. That meant I wouldn't see my passport again until December. Maybe longer if Kevin decided to move the goalposts again. That night I pulled out my notebook. My hands were still shaking as I wrote. Week 6. Asked for documents again. Kevin says probation is 6 months now, not 6 weeks. He knows my brother's names. I never told him their names. I stared at what I'd written. Then I added, he's never giving them back. I pulled Carmen Rodriguez's card out of my pocket. It was bent and worn from living in my jeans for almost a week. I still didn't call. But I didn't throw the card away either. The next morning, Javier was waiting for me at the time clock. You're on fryer detail today, he said. I knew what that meant. Everyone knew what that meant. Fryer detail was punishment duty. The grease was burnt onto the metal. The only way to get it off was with industrial degreaser so caustic it came with a hazard symbol on the bottle. I need gloves, I said. Javier smiled. We're out of gloves. I spent 8 hours scrubbing commercial fryers with chemicals that ate through my skin. My hands went from red to blistered to raw. The pain was so bad I had to stop every few minutes and run cold water over them in the sink. No one offered first aid. No one even looked at me. By the end of my shift, my palms were weeping fluid. I wrapped them in toilet paper from the bathroom because that was all I had. When I picked up my paycheck on Friday, there was a handwritten note stapled to it. Deduction, $25. Excessive complaining about minor work discomfort. My check was $25 shorter than it should have been, which meant it was $637 shorter than what I'd actually earned. I saw Maria during lunch break. She was sitting alone at the far end of the warehouse. I walked over with my sandwich. She looked up, looked away. Maria, I said. I can't talk to you. What? She stood up, started walking away. I followed her. Javier pulled me aside yesterday, she said quietly. She wouldn't look at me. He said you're making trouble. He said if I want to keep my job, I need to stay away from you. Maria, I'm just trying to... I know what you're trying to do. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. But I can't lose this job. My kids need me to send money. I can't risk it. She walked away. I ate lunch alone in the bathroom stall, the same stall where I'd opened my first paycheck 6 weeks ago. Through the thin walls, I heard Javier's voice. He was on the phone. Yeah, the Honduran girl, he said. Keep an eye on her. Boss thinks she might run. My whole body went cold. They were watching me now. That night, my roommates staged an intervention. Sandra and Yenny sat me down at our tiny kitchen table. They both worked at a meat processing plant across town. They both had the same scared, exhausted look that I saw in the mirror every morning. You need to stop, Sandra said. Stop what? Whatever you're doing, asking questions, making trouble. I'm not. Yes, you are. Yenny crossed her arms. You're going to get us all deported. You know what happens if ICE comes here? They don't just take you. They take everyone in the building. The landlord asks questions. People remember faces. I'm just trying to get paid what I'm owed. Then quit, Sandra said. Find a different job. But stop making waves. I looked at both of them. These women who'd let me sleep on their couch when I first arrived. Who'd shared their food when I had nothing. He has my passport, I said. Then leave it. Sandra's voice got sharp. It's just paper. You can get new papers. You can't get a new life if you're deported. And I went to bed that night with my hands throbbing and my roommates not speaking to me. I pulled out my notebook. My hands hurt so badly I could barely hold the pen. I wrote anyway. Week 6. Kevin says probation is 6 months now. Chemical burns on hands from fryers. No first aid. Javier docked me $25 for complaining. Maria won't talk to me. Roommates say I'm making trouble. Total stolen, $3,675. I stared at what I'd written. Then I looked at Carmen Rodriguez's card. It was so worn now the edges were starting to tear. I almost threw my notebook in the trash that night. Almost convinced myself that Sandra was right. That I should just disappear, find a different job, leave my passport behind like it didn't matter. I held the notebook over the trash can for a full minute. Then I put it back in my shoe. But I still didn't call Carmen. 2 days later, I arrived for my shift at 6 in the morning. There was an ambulance parked outside the warehouse, lights flashing, back doors open. I ran. Maria was on a stretcher. Her face was gray. An oxygen mask covered her nose and mouth. Her chest was barely moving. What happened? I grabbed one of the paramedics. Respiratory distress. She collapsed during her shift. Javier was standing by his truck, clipboard in hand. He was writing something down, casual, like this happened every day. I walked over, looked at what he was writing. Medical emergency. Employee terminated for inability to complete shift. You're firing her? My voice came out too loud. She's in an ambulance. Javier didn't look up. Company policy. Can't complete your shift. You're done. The ambulance pulled away. No sirens. That somehow made it worse. I stood in the parking lot watching Maria disappear. Then I looked down at my hands. The chemical burns were infected now. Yellow fluid leaking through the toilet paper bandages I'd wrapped around my palms. I pulled out my phone, the one I'd borrowed from Patricia, another worker who still spoke to me. I took a photo of my hands, the raw, weeping skin, the burns that went up to my wrists. I walked back into the warehouse, found the chemical bottles we'd been using, took photos of each one, no warning labels, no safety information, just generic white bottles with handwritten markers. I photographed the time clock, 6:13 a.m., proving I'd been here since 6, even though my shift wasn't supposed to start until 7. Then I pulled out Carmen Rodriguez's card. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type in the number. It rang 4 times. This is Carmen. My name is Rosa, I said in Spanish. Dr. Patel gave me your number. My friend just left in an ambulance. She has chemical pneumonia from our job, and I think he's going to kill the rest of us too. Carmen met me the next afternoon at a small cafe 3 blocks from the worker center. I got there early. Sat in the corner booth where I could see the door. My leg wouldn't stop bouncing under the table. She walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. Mid-30s, dark hair pulled back, eyes that had seen everything. She ordered 2 coffees in Spanish and sat down across from me. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. I told her about Kevin taking my passport on day 1, about the 14-hour shifts with no overtime pay, about the chemicals burning through my skin while Javier laughed about gloves being for babies, about Maria coughing up blood and getting fired from a stretcher. I cried through most of it, couldn't help it. 6 weeks of holding everything in came pouring out in that cafe booth. Carmen didn't look shocked, didn't gasp or shake her head in disbelief. She just listened, took notes, asked specific questions. How much is he stealing from you per week? About $600. How many other workers? Maybe 15 at our location, but I think there are more at other sites. Does he have everyone's documents? Everyone I've talked to. Carmen put down her pen, looked at me directly. Labor laws protect all workers, she said. Immigration status doesn't matter for wage claims. That's federal law. Kevin can't use ICE as a weapon if you file a legal complaint. But he said, he's lying. That's what they do. They make you think you have no rights because you're undocumented. But wage theft is wage theft. The law doesn't care about your papers. I wanted to believe her, but 6 weeks of Kevin's threats had burrowed deep into my brain. What if I file and nothing happens? My voice cracked. What if it makes things worse? It might, Carmen said. She didn't sugarcoat it. He might retaliate. He might fire you. But retaliation is also illegal. And you're already documenting everything, which is the hardest part. She reached across the table, tapped my worn notebook that I'd set between us. This right here? This is power. You just don't know it yet. Carmen explained the plan over the next hour. I'd keep working, keep documenting. Photos of everything, time clock, chemical bottles, any written instructions, anything that proved what Kevin was doing. She'd contact a lawyer she knew, Robert Chen, legal aid attorney who specialized in wage theft cases. But the most important part, find other workers willing to join the complaint. One person Kevin can dismiss as a troublemaker, Carmen said. 4 people? That's a pattern. That's a case. My stomach dropped. I have to convince other workers? You don't have to do anything. But if you want this to work, we need numbers. Strength in numbers. She pulled out her phone, showed me photos of newspaper articles, cases she'd worked on, workers who'd won, got their money back, got their documents back. Kevin thinks you're alone and scared, Carmen said. Let him keep thinking that while we build the case. Before I left, Carmen introduced me to Robert Chen. He was waiting in a back office at the Worker Center. Young guy, maybe 30. Suit that looked slept in. Briefcase covered in legal aid stickers. I've handled about 40 wage theft cases, he said after we shook hands. 90% settle, the other 10% we win in court. What about the workers, I asked. Do they get deported? Not if we do this right. Texas Workforce Commission handles wage claims separately from immigration. ICE doesn't get involved unless Kevin makes false reports, which would be illegal retaliation. He made it sound so simple, so straightforward. We need at least 3 to 4 workers to make this stick, Robert said. Can you find them? I thought about Maria in the ambulance, about Elena who worked next to me and never made eye contact with anyone, about Patricia who cried in the bathroom every Friday when she saw her paycheck, about Luce who was 18 and sent everything home to her grandmother. I don't know, I said honestly. Everyone's terrified. Then start with the ones who are angry, Carmen said. Fear and anger can't live in the same space. Find the angry ones. I left the worker center with a plan I didn't know if I could execute, with a prepaid phone Carmen gave me so Kevin couldn't track my calls, with a list of what to photograph and when. I walked back to the warehouse for my evening shift. Javier was waiting at the entrance, arms crossed, watching me. Where were you? He asked. Lunch break. Lunch was over an hour ago. I went to the clinic. My hands. I held up my bandaged palms, still weeping through the gauze. He stared at me for a long moment, then stepped aside. Get to work. I clocked in, pulled my notebook from my shoe before I started my shift, added 1 line at the bottom of today's page. Week 6. Met Carmen and Robert. They say I have a case. Now I need to find 3 other workers brave enough to fight. I looked across the warehouse floor. Elena was scrubbing toilets. Patricia was mopping. Luce was hauling trash bags twice her size. They all looked exactly like I'd felt 2 days ago. Alone. Terrified. Trapped. I didn't know if I could convince them to fight. Didn't know if I could even convince myself. But Maria was in a hospital bed somewhere because I'd waited too long. I wasn't waiting anymore. I started recruiting during bathroom breaks. Elena was first. She was 23, from Guatemala, worked the morning shift scrubbing toilets. I found her in the supply closet pulling on rubber gloves. Elena, I said in Spanish, can I talk to you? She looked at the door, making sure Javier wasn't nearby. About what? About getting our money back. About filing a complaint. Her whole body tensed. She shook her head fast. No, I can't. Kevin is stealing from you, from all of us. I know. She grabbed a bottle of bleach, wouldn't look at me. But I have to work. I can't make trouble. Carmen Rodriguez says we're protected. Labor laws protect everyone, even without papers. Elena finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet. You think papers matter? You think laws matter? They'll call ICE and we'll all be gone. I'm not doing it. She walked out of the supply closet. End of conversation. Patricia was different. She was 42, from El Salvador, had 4 kids back home. I approached her in the parking lot after our shift. She was sitting in her car eating a granola bar for dinner because she sent everything else home. I heard what you're doing, she said before I could speak. What am I doing? Building a case. Talking to lawyers. My stomach dropped. Who told you that? Nobody had to tell me. I've been here longer than you. I see things. She took another bite of her granola bar. How much is he stealing from you? About $600 a week. Patricia nodded. Me too, maybe more. I stopped doing the math because it made me too angry. Then help me. We file together. We have a better chance. She stared out the windshield for a long time. I have 4 kids. My oldest needs surgery. My youngest needs glasses. If I lose this job, they lose everything. If we win, you get your money back, all of it. And if we lose? I didn't have an answer for that. Patricia crumpled up her granola bar wrapper. Let me think about it. Luz was 18, from Mexico, angry in a way that scared Javier. I found her hauling trash bags that weighed more than she did. She saw me coming and dropped the bags. You're the one asking questions, she said. Yeah. Good. Because they owe me $4,000. I've been counting. My heart jumped. You've been documenting? Not like you. But I know my hours, I know my pay, I know I'm getting fucked. She wiped sweat from her forehead. What do we do about it? I showed her my notebook. 11 weeks of entries, hours, wages, deductions, threats, everything. Luz flipped through the pages. Her jaw got tighter with each one. We need at least 4 people to file, I said. Will you do it? Hell yes. Over the next week, Patricia came around, slowly, carefully. We started meeting in the parking lot after shifts, just the 3 of us at first, comparing our paychecks, taking photos of our time cards, building our own paper trail. Patricia had information I didn't. I saw Javier shredding papers in the office last month. Big stack of them, looked like old pay stubs. Why would he shred pay stubs? So there's no record, no proof of what he actually paid us. Luz added something even better. Kevin keeps a second set of books. I clean his office every Thursday. There's a locked drawer in his desk. I've seen him pull ledgers out of it. How do you know they're different from the official books? Because one time he left them out. I saw my name, 2 different amounts written next to it, one that matched my paycheck, one that was way higher. My hands started shaking. That's evidence, real evidence. Can't prove it if it's locked in his desk, Patricia said. We sat in silence for a minute, all 3 of us knowing we were close to something, not knowing how to get the rest of the way there. Keep documenting, I finally said. Every shift, every hour, every dollar he steals. We're going to need all of it. They both nodded. We weren't brave yet. We were still terrified. But at least now we were terrified together. The evidence came from Kevin's own trash. Thursday night was my turn on office cleaning rotation. I emptied Kevin's wastebasket into my rolling trash bin like I'd done a dozen times before. But this time, I saw paper. Shredded into strips. White with blue letterhead. Company letterhead. I looked over my shoulder. Javier was on the other side of the warehouse yelling at someone about mop water. Kevin had left an hour ago. I reached into the trash bin, pulled out a handful of shredded strips, stuffed them in my uniform pocket. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. That night, I spread the pieces across my bedroom floor like a jigsaw puzzle. My roommates were both working night shifts. I had the apartment to myself. I started matching edges, looking for pieces that fit together. It took 40 minutes before I could make out any words. Hold all documents. I found another piece, pending 6-month review, more pieces. My hands were shaking now. Deduct $25 per day for any complaints. The last section made my stomach drop. Anyone mentions lawyer equals immediate termination plus notify ICE. It was dated 3 weeks ago. Addressed to Javier, signed by Kevin in the bottom right corner, written instructions. Proof that everything Kevin did was deliberate. Systematic. Not mistakes or misunderstandings. A policy. I took photos with the prepaid phone Carmen gave me, made sure every piece of the shredded memo was visible in the frame, made sure Kevin's signature was clear. Then I sent it to Carmen. She responded in less than 2 minutes. This is it. This is the evidence we need. I stared at the shredded memo on my floor. At Kevin's handwriting spelling out exactly how he planned to trap us, how he planned to silence us. He'd written it down, put it in writing, like he was so confident we'd never fight back that he didn't even need to be careful. I took the pieces and taped them back together on a sheet of paper. Carefully, precisely, until it looked almost whole again. Then I put it in a manila envelope, wrote evidence on the front, slid it under my mattress next to my notebook. Kevin thought he was untouchable, thought we were too scared to do anything. He was wrong. The next morning, I showed the photo to Patricia and Luz in the parking lot. Patricia read it 3 times. Her hands were shaking when she handed the phone back. He wrote it down, she whispered. He actually wrote it down. That's admission of guilt, Luz said. Right? That's proof? Carmen says it's everything we need. Patricia looked at both of us. Then we do it. We file the complaint. You're sure? I wasn't before. But now I am. She pointed at the phone. He's not going to stop. He's never going to stop, not unless we make him. Luz nodded. When do we file? Soon. Robert needs to review all our evidence first. Make sure we have enough. We stood there in the parking lot, 3 women with burned hands and stolen wages and confiscated documents. But we had something Kevin didn't know about. We had proof. And we weren't alone anymore. 3 days later, I got a message on Signal from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. I used to work there. I know what Kevin does. I can help. My heart stopped. I stared at my phone for a full minute before responding. Me. Who is this? Unknown. Call me David. That's all you need to know. Me. How did you get my number? Unknown. Carmen gave it to me. She said you're building a case. I want to help, but I can't go public. I have my own family to protect. I sat on my mattress, phone shaking in my hands. This could be a trap. Kevin could have somehow gotten to Carmen. This could be Javier trying to catch me. Me. How do I know you're real? Unknown. Kevin keeps a second set of books in storage room B. Locked filing cabinet, gray metal, top shelf. He goes there every Friday at 7 p.m. to reconcile the numbers. The real numbers. My chest tightened. Luce had mentioned the second books, but she didn't know where Kevin kept them. Me. Why are you helping? Unknown. Because Maria isn't the first person to leave in an ambulance. I read that line 3 times. Me. There were others? Unknown. 2 before her. 1 man, 1 woman. Chemical exposure both times. Kevin paid their hospital bills in cash to keep them quiet. Made them sign releases saying they wouldn't sue. Me. Why didn't you say something before? Unknown. Because I was scared. Same as you. But I can't stay quiet anymore. I showed the messages to Carmen the next day. She read them carefully. Do you trust him? I asked. I don't know him personally. But the information checks out. I've heard rumors about other workers getting sick. What if it's Kevin trying to trap us? Carmen looked at me. Then we're already trapped. Might as well use whatever information we can get. Week 9, Tuesday morning. I was photographing the time clock during my bathroom break. The angle was tricky. I had to hold the phone low, make it look like I was texting. Get the timestamp visible. Get the list of punched-in workers visible. What are you doing with that phone? I jumped, dropped the phone, caught it before it hit the floor. Javier was standing in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes narrow, sending photo to my mother. The lie came out fast, too fast. She doesn't believe I work hard job. I show her time clock. He walked toward me, held out his hand. Give it. It's my phone. No phones on the floor. Against policy. You know this. My stomach dropped. All the photos I'd taken today were on this phone. Time cards, chemical bottles, Javier's handwritten schedule showing 14-hour shifts. But this wasn't my phone. It was Patricia's. I'd borrowed it this morning. I handed it over. Javier scrolled through the photos. I watched his face. Watched for the moment he'd see the evidence, but I'd already sent everything to Carmen an hour ago. The only photos left were selfies Patricia had taken with her kids, pictures of her lunch, a blurry shot of a cat. Javier kept scrolling. No phones on floor. $50 doc from next paycheck. That's not fair. I was on bathroom break. Company property, company rules. He pocketed the phone. Get back to work. I walked back to the warehouse floor, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd throw up. I'd gotten away with it. Barely. But now I couldn't take photos anymore. Couldn't document. Couldn't build the case. 2 days later, a package arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a cheap prepaid phone with a camera and a note in Carmen's handwriting. Keep going. You're doing great. Week 10, Thursday afternoon. My prepaid phone buzzed during my shift. I checked it in the bathroom stall. Maria. They're hiring 3 new girls from Honduras. They don't speak any English. Rosa, they're going to do to them what they did to us. I sat on the toilet seat, staring at the message until my vision blurred. 3 more girls. Teenagers probably. Fresh off the bus, desperate for work. About to hand over their passports to Kevin's smiling face. I pulled out my notebook. 10 weeks of entries now. Every hour, every stolen dollar, every threat, every violation. 10 weeks of proof. I texted Carmen. Me. How many workers do we need for this to work? Carmen. You have 4 including yourself. That's enough. Time to call Robert. My hands were shaking. I typed the response 3 times before I could hit send. Me. Let's do it. I stood up. Flushed the toilet even though I hadn't used it. Walked out of the stall. Javier was standing by the warehouse entrance, watching me. He'd seen me on my phone. I walked past him, clocked back in, picked up my mop. He didn't say anything. Didn't need to. His eyes said it all. I see you. I'm watching. One wrong move. I mopped the same section of floor I'd mopped yesterday. The chemicals burned through my gloves. My hands were almost healed, but now they were raw again. I thought about those 3 new girls. Thought about Maria coughing up blood. Thought about my notebook hidden in my shoe. Javier kept watching. I kept mopping. And I kept my phone in my pocket, waiting for Robert Chen to call me back and tell me what happened next. Robert called me back that same night. We're ready to file, he said. I just need final confirmation from all 4 of you. I sat on my mattress, phone pressed to my ear. My roommates were asleep. The apartment was dark except for the streetlight coming through the window. When? I asked. Next week, Tuesday. I'll submit everything to the Texas Workforce Commission first thing in the morning. And then what happens? They notify Kevin within 24 hours, then the investigation starts. My stomach turned over. He's going to know it was me. He's going to know it was all 4 of you. That's why we did it this way. Safety in numbers. I hung up and stared at my notebook. 11 weeks of documentation. Every stolen dollar. Every threat. Every violation. I texted Patricia and Luce. Told them it was happening. Tuesday morning. Neither of them responded. Monday morning, Kevin called an all-hands meeting. That never happened. We never had meetings. We just clocked in and worked until our shifts ended. Javier herded everyone into the break room. 15 workers crammed into a space meant for 6. No chairs. We all stood. Kevin walked in last, closed the door behind him. I want to talk about loyalty, he said. Nobody spoke. I've built this company from the ground up. My father started it. I've kept it going through recessions, through competition, through everything. And I've given all of you opportunities when nobody else would. He paced while he talked, back and forth across the small room. Some people don't appreciate opportunities. They make trouble. They forget how good they have it here. His eyes landed on me during the word trouble. Stayed there for 3 seconds, then moved on. My heart was beating so hard I thought everyone could hear it. So we're implementing new policies. Effective immediately. Kevin stopped pacing, faced all of us. No phones anywhere on premises. If I see a phone, it's confiscated and you're docked $100. Random bag checks at the end of every shift. Bathroom breaks are now 5 minutes maximum timed. Patricia shifted next to me. I didn't look at her. And one more thing. Kevin's voice got quieter. Dangerous. Anyone caught discussing wages or working conditions with other employees will be immediately terminated and reported to ICE. Are we clear? Silence. I said, are we clear? A few people mumbled yes. Good. Get back to work. We filed out. Nobody made eye contact. Nobody spoke. Luce grabbed my arm in the hallway, whispered in Spanish. He knows something. Not everything, I whispered back, or we'd already be fired, but my hands were shaking when I clocked in. That night, David sent me a message. David. He moved the filing cabinet. Documents are gone. I stared at my phone. Me. Where? David. Off-site storage. I don't know where. I'm sorry. I immediately texted Carmen. Me. He's hiding evidence. The documents are gone. Carmen. Doesn't matter. We have your testimony. Photos, Maria's medical records, the shredded memo you pieced together. We have enough. Me. But the passports, all our documents. If he moved them. Carmen. Robert is filing tomorrow regardless. Trust the process. I didn't trust the process. I trusted paper. I trusted proof. And Kevin had just made half our proof disappear. I lay on my mattress that night staring at the ceiling. My notebook was under my pillow. 10 weeks of my handwriting. My evidence. My truth. But suddenly it felt like nothing. Kevin could make filing cabinets disappear. He could move evidence. He could lie. What did I have? A notebook and 3 scared women. My phone buzzed. Robert Chen. Final check before filing. Are you still in? I typed yes 3 times. Deleted it 3 times. Me. What if we file and nothing happens? Robert. Then nothing happens. But if we don't file, nothing definitely happens. Me. What if it makes things worse? Robert. It might. But Maria's in a hospital bed. Those 3 new girls start tomorrow. How much worse does it need to get? I closed my eyes. Thought about Maria coughing blood. About my burned hands. About 11 weeks of stolen wages. About 3 teenage girls who were about to hand their passports to Kevin's smiling face. Me. File it. I sent the message before I could change my mind. Then I turned off my phone and pulled my blanket over my head. Tomorrow morning, Robert Chen would submit our complaint to the Texas Workforce Commission. By tomorrow afternoon, Kevin would know. And I had no idea what he'd do when he found out. Tuesday came too fast. I barely slept. When I did sleep, I dreamed about ICE agents kicking down my door, about Kevin standing over me, smiling, about my passport burning. I woke up at 4 a.m. with my heart racing. Couldn't go back to sleep. Just lay there staring at the ceiling until my alarm went off. My shift started at 6. I got there at 5:30, clocked in, started mopping. Somewhere across town, Robert Chen was filing our complaint. The morning dragged. Every time Kevin's office door opened, my stomach dropped. Every time Javier walked past, I thought, this is it. This is when he tells me. But nothing happened. Lunch came. Still nothing. By 2 p.m., I was starting to think maybe Robert hadn't filed yet. Maybe he'd changed his mind. Maybe. My prepaid phone buzzed in my pocket. Robert. Filed at 9 a.m. TWC confirmed receipt. Kevin will get notice within 24 hours. My hands started shaking so badly I had to put down my mop. 24 hours. That meant tomorrow. Maybe today if they sent it fast. I made it through the rest of my shift. Barely. My hands were infected again. Yellow fluid seeping through the bandages I'd wrapped around my palms. I had no money for a doctor. No insurance. Nothing. The burns were getting worse because I couldn't stop working. Couldn't take time off. Kevin would know something was wrong if I suddenly called in sick. Patricia pulled me aside during our 5-minute bathroom break. I can't eat, she whispered. Every time I try, I throw up. I'm so scared. Me too. What if he finds out before the investigation starts? What if he destroys everything? I didn't have an answer. That night, my roommates confronted me. Sandra stood between me and my mattress, arms crossed, Yenny behind her. We got a notice from the landlord today, Sandra said. My stomach dropped. What kind of notice? He's doing background checks on everyone in the building. Immigration status, work permits, everything. That's not because of me. Yes, it is. Yenny's voice was sharp. Your problems are becoming our problems. You're making noise, you're making waves, and now we're all going to pay for it. I'm trying to get our money back. I don't care about money. Sandra stepped closer. I care about not getting deported. Maybe you should just quit. Find a different job. He has my passport. I can't just leave. Then leave it. It's just paper. I stared at her. It's not just paper. It's my only proof I exist. Sandra's face softened slightly, but not enough. Look, we've been letting you stay here cheap because we felt bad for you, but if you bring ICE to this building, we're done. You're out. I nodded. Couldn't speak. They walked away, left me standing in the kitchen. I went to my mattress, pulled out my notebook, stared at 11 weeks of entries. I hadn't written anything in 3 days. What was the point? Kevin had hidden the documents. The landlord was doing background checks. My roommates hated me. My hands were infected. I was working double shifts because Kevin kept adding hours without asking. I was falling apart. My phone rang. Carmen. I almost didn't answer. Rosa? Her voice was concerned. What's happening? Robert said you haven't responded to his calls. I can't do this. My voice cracked. He's too powerful. He's hiding evidence. My roommates are going to kick me out. I'm nobody. I'm nothing. You're not nothing. Yes, I am. I was crying now. Couldn't stop. I'm an illegal worker with a 4th grade education and burned hands. Kevin has lawyers. He has money. He has everything. Carmen was quiet for a long moment. You know what you have, she finally said. The truth. You have 11 weeks of documentation. You have 3 other workers backing you up. You have Maria's medical records. You have that shredded memo. You have me. You have Robert. You're not alone. It doesn't feel like enough. It's more than most people have when they fight back, and you're already braver than you think. I wiped my face, looked at my notebook. I don't feel brave. Brave people are just scared people who do it anyway. After we hung up, I sat on my mattress for a long time. Then I picked up my pen. Week 11, filed complaint with TWC, waiting for Kevin to find out. Hands infected, roommates threatening to kick me out, can't sleep, can't eat, total stolen, $4,287.50. I closed the notebook, slid it back into my shoe. Tomorrow Kevin would get the notice. Tomorrow everything would change. I just didn't know if I'd survive it. Wednesday morning, Carmen showed up at my apartment. I opened the door and she took one look at me. Her face went tight. When did you last eat? I couldn't remember. Yesterday, maybe. Let me see your hands. I held them out. The bandages were crusted yellow. The skin underneath was hot and swollen. Jesus, Rosa. She stepped inside without asking. You need a doctor. I don't have money for a doctor. The community clinic doesn't charge, you know that. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling Dr. Patel. I can't miss work. If I call in sick now, Kevin will know something's wrong. Carmen put her phone down, looked at me hard. Look at yourself. Look at what he's doing to you. I looked down at my infected hands, at my uniform hanging off my body because I'd lost 15 pounds, at my face in the mirror behind Carmen, dark circles, hollow cheeks, eyes that looked dead. This is exactly why we fight, Carmen said. Because they do this to us and expect us to just take it. But what if we file and nothing happens? My voice broke. What if it makes everything worse? Carmen sat down on my mattress, patted the space next to her. I sat. I was like you, she said quietly. 19 years old, no papers, working at a restaurant washing dishes. Boss made me work 16-hour shifts, paid me $3 an hour, kept my passport, said he'd call ICE if I complained. She pulled up her sleeve, showed me a long white scar running up her forearm. Grease burn, got infected. I didn't go to the doctor because I was scared. By the time I finally went, the infection was in my blood. Almost died. I stared at the scar. I never fought back, Carmen said. I just survived, kept my head down, and you know what happened? I developed chronic lung problems from the kitchen fumes. My boss never got in trouble. He's still running that restaurant, still exploiting workers, still taking passports. She looked at me. I can't undo what happened to me. But maybe I can stop it from happening to you and those 3 new girls Maria told you about. I'd forgotten about them. The 3 teenagers from Honduras who were starting this week. They're going to do to them exactly what they did to you, Carmen said, unless you stop it. I'm just one person. You're 4 people, and you have proof. And you have me and Robert and the entire legal system backing you up. She stood. Your fear is valid, but so is your anger, and right now your anger needs to be louder than your fear. She pulled me to my feet. We're going to the clinic. We're getting your hands treated. Then you're going back to work and you're going to finish this. What if Kevin already got the notice? What if he's waiting for me? Then he's waiting. But at least you'll have clean bandages. I grabbed my phone, my notebook, let Carmen drive me to the community clinic. Dr. Patel cleaned my hands, gave me antibiotics, wrapped them in proper medical gauze. These were badly infected, she said. Another few days and you'd have needed surgery. I thanked her. Carmen drove me back to the warehouse. I clocked in 20 minutes late. Javier made a note on his clipboard but didn't say anything. Kevin's office door was closed. I picked up my mop, started cleaning. My hands still hurt, but at least now they were healing. The next day I saw them. 3 teenage girls, standing in Kevin's office, holding their passports. They looked exactly like me 11 weeks ago. Scared, hopeful, desperate. Kevin was giving them the same speech. I could hear it through the open door. We keep all documents safe during probation. Standard procedure. 6 weeks and you get everything back. 6 weeks. The same lie. One girl hesitated. She was maybe 16. She stared at her passport like she knew she shouldn't let it go. Kevin smiled, held out his hand. She gave it to him. Something broke inside me. I waited until lunch break. The 3 girls sat together in the break room, sharing 1 can of soda, speaking fast Spanish. I walked over, sat down. Javier was across the warehouse. Couldn't see us. Don't trust him, I said in Spanish. They looked up, startled. Kevin, he's going to steal from you. He's going to hurt you. The youngest one stared at me. What do you mean? He won't pay you what he promised. He'll keep your passports. He'll make you work with chemicals that burn your skin. One of our workers left in an ambulance. They looked at each other, uncertain. We need this job, the oldest said. Maybe 18. We have families. We have bills. So do I. That's why I'm telling you the truth. But we already gave him our papers. I know. He took mine too, 11 weeks ago. I still don't have them back. The middle girl leaned forward. So what do we do? Write everything down, every hour, every dollar, keep proof. Rosa. Javier's voice, right behind me. My whole body went cold. Kevin's office, now. I walked across the warehouse floor. Javier's hand on my shoulder, pushing me toward Kevin's office. Kevin was sitting at his desk, arms crossed, face red. Sit. I sat. You're contaminating my new workers. I didn't say anything. I heard what you told them. About not trusting me, about ambulances. I'm warning them. Warning them about what? His voice got louder. About me giving them jobs when nobody else will. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was seeing those 3 girls, maybe it was 11 weeks of swallowing fear. About you stealing their wages, keeping their documents, making them sick. Kevin stood up, walked to the window, stood there with his back to me. You have 2 choices, he said. His voice was quiet now, dangerous. Shut up and work, or leave. But if you leave, you'll never see your passport again, and I will make that call to ICE. You can't. Try me. He turned around, smiled. Not just for you. For your roommates too, Sandra and Yenny. They have families too, don't they? My blood went cold. How did he know their names? He walked back to his desk, pulled out a single sheet of paper, set it in front of me. Sign this. It says you quit voluntarily. No complaints, no claims. You give up all rights to sue. I stared at the paper, the words blurred together. Sign by end of shift or you're done. And everyone you've talked to? Also done. He meant Patricia, Elena, Luce, all of them fired because of me. Get out. I walked out of Kevin's office. The paper crumpled in my fist. Elena was watching from across the warehouse. Patricia too. Luce was standing by the time clock. All 3 of them staring at me. The 3 new girls were huddled by the supply closet, scared, confused. I walked to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, pulled out my phone. Me. He knows he's going to fire all of us and report us to ICE. Carmen responded in seconds. Carmen. Then we file now, today. Are you ready? I stared at my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. Me. What if we lose? Carmen. What if we win? I took a photo of Kevin's ultimatum, the paper demanding I sign away my rights. Sent it to Carmen. Me. File it. I unlocked the stall, walked back to the warehouse floor. Javier was waiting. Well? Did you sign? I looked him in the eye. Not yet. 4 hours until end of shift. 4 hours before Kevin expected an answer. At 2:47 that afternoon, Robert Chen filed our complaint with the Texas Workforce Commission. I didn't know it was happening. I was scrubbing toilets when my phone buzzed. Robert, filed, 4 named workers, 18 months of documented wage theft affecting approximately 23 workers. Total stolen wages, $127,000. My legs went weak. I sat down on the bathroom floor. Robert, evidence attached, your wage logs, photos, Maria's medical records, the shredded memo, witness statements. Also filed OSHA complaint for chemical exposure. Me. What happens now? Robert, TWC sends notice to Kevin within 24 hours, then investigation starts. Stay safe. I stood up, washed my hands, went back to work. Kevin's office door was closed. At 4:15, I heard him screaming. The whole warehouse heard it. What the fuck is this? Something crashed. Sounded like he threw his computer monitor. Kevin stormed onto the warehouse floor. His face was purple, veins bulging in his neck. He pointed straight at me. You, out. You're fired. Get out of my building. I was shaking, but I stayed standing. You can't fire me for filing a legal complaint. Watch me. He turned to Javier. Call ICE, now. Javier pulled out his phone. He looked uncomfortable, but he did it anyway. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought I'd pass out. There are laws, I started. You broke the law by being here illegally. Kevin was screaming now, spit flying from his mouth. That's the only law that matters. Get out before I have you arrested. Elena stepped forward, then Patricia, then Luce, all 3 of them standing next to me. We're in the complaint too, Elena said. Her voice was shaking. Kevin wheeled on them. You're all fired. Every single one of you. He was pointing at each of us. Out. Now. The 3 new girls were pressed against the wall, watching. One of them was crying. Patricia pulled a business card from her pocket, held it up. We have a lawyer. Texas Workforce Commission knows what you're doing. Kevin laughed. Actually laughed. I don't give a shit about your lawyer. I don't give a shit about the Workforce Commission. He looked around at all the other workers. Everyone else, back to work. This doesn't concern you. Nobody moved. I said back to work. Slowly, people started picking up their mops, going back to their stations, but they were all watching us. Kevin turned back to the 4 of us. I want you off my property in 5 minutes. His voice got quiet. Dangerous. Or I'm calling the police. Trespassing. All of you. We didn't move. The 4 of us stood there in the middle of the warehouse. Together. Javier was still on his phone, talking to someone. I couldn't tell if it was really ICE or just theater. Kevin looked at his watch. I'm counting down. 5 minutes. My hand was shaking when I pulled out my phone. Called Carmen. He's firing us. He's calling ICE. Put me on speaker. I hit speaker, held the phone up. Carmen's voice came through. Calm, clear, loud enough for everyone to hear. Mr. Hartwell, this is Carmen Rodriguez from the North Texas Worker Center. Retaliation for filing a wage theft complaint is illegal under Texas Labor Code. You're being recorded. Kevin's face went even redder. He walked over, fast, grabbed my phone right out of my hand, smashed it on the concrete floor. The screen shattered, pieces of glass everywhere. That was assault, I said. My voice was steady. You just assaulted me in front of witnesses. Kevin looked around, realized everyone was watching. The other workers, the ones not part of the complaint, they'd all stopped working, standing there, staring. He'd lost control, and he knew it. Everyone back to work. His voice was quieter now. This doesn't concern you. Nobody moved. One of the workers, an older woman named Isabel, spoke up. You smashed her phone. She was trespassing. She was clocking out. Isabel crossed her arms. I saw her. She clocked out 5 minutes ago. Another worker nodded. Me too. I saw it. Kevin's jaw clenched. Patricia stepped forward. We all saw what you did. You destroyed her property. You threatened to call ICE. You fired us for filing a legal complaint. Get out of my building. We're going. Patricia pulled out her own phone, started recording. But everyone here just witnessed illegal retaliation, labor law violation, assault, destruction of property. Kevin lunged for her phone. Lou stepped between them. Touch her, and that's assault number 2. The 3 new girls were still pressed against the wall, watching everything. One of them had her phone out too, recording. Kevin saw her. Put that away. She didn't. He looked around the warehouse, at all the workers watching him, at Patricia's phone still recording, at the broken pieces of my phone on the floor. The damage was done.
Everyone had seen what he really was. Patricia already had her phone out when Robert Chen pulled into the parking lot. "He's here," she said. 20 minutes. That's how long it took him to get here. He must have been close, waiting. Robert walked through the warehouse door with a police officer right behind him. The officer looked around, took in the scene, 4 women standing together, Kevin red-faced by his office, Javier still on his phone, other workers frozen at their stations. "I understand there's a workplace dispute," the officer said. Kevin straightened up, forced his face into something calmer. "Just terminating some employees for performance issues." Robert stepped forward, pulled out papers from his briefcase. "These 4 women filed a legal wage theft complaint with the Texas Workforce Commission this morning. This is illegal retaliation happening in real time." He handed the papers to the officer, pointed at the timestamp. "Filed at 2:47 p.m., notice sent to Mr. Hartwell at 4:15 p.m. He's now attempting to fire all 4 complainants and threatening to report them to ICE." The officer read the papers, looked at Kevin. "Is that true? You got this notice today? I have the right to fire anyone. Not in retaliation for a legal complaint, you don't." Kevin's face went red again. "They're here illegally. That's the real issue. That's a separate matter." The officer's voice was firm. "Right now, we're talking about labor law violations, retaliation, destruction of property." He pointed at my broken phone on the floor. Robert picked up the pieces. "Mr. Hartwell destroyed this worker's phone approximately 10 minutes ago, in front of multiple witnesses, while she was attempting to contact legal counsel. She was trespassing. She was clocked out and leaving the premises." Patricia held up her phone, still recording. "I have video of everything that happened after we clocked out." The officer turned to Robert. "What are you requesting here?" "That these workers be allowed to safely leave the premises and collect their belongings without further harassment or threats." Kevin opened his mouth, closed it. He was cornered, and he knew it. "Fine." His voice was tight. "Get out. All of you." "And their personal documents?" Robert asked. Kevin's jaw clenched. "What documents?" "The passports and work permits you confiscated from them." "I don't have anyone's documents." I stepped forward. "You took my passport on my first day. You have it in a filing cabinet, gray metal, with a padlock. Prove it." Robert pulled out another paper. "We have sworn statements from 4 workers stating you confiscated their identity documents. That's a separate violation we'll be pursuing." The officer looked at Kevin. "Do you have their documents or not?" Kevin didn't answer. "Mr. Hartwell, do you have these women's passports?" "They're in storage. Off-site, for safekeeping." "Then you need to return them. After the investigation, now." The officer's voice left no room for argument. "You don't get to hold people's identity documents hostage." Kevin's hands were shaking. From rage or fear, I couldn't tell. "Fine. I'll get them, but it'll take time. They're not here." Robert wrote something in his notebook. "We'll be filing an additional complaint for document retention. You have 48 hours to return all confiscated documents or face further penalties." Kevin looked at all of us, his empire crumbling in real time. "Get out of my building." We collected our things from our lockers in silence. My phone was in pieces on the warehouse floor. I left it there. Patricia's phone buzzed. She looked at it, showed me the screen. "David, Kevin's moving documents tonight, storage facility on Highway 67, Unit 243. He'll be there at 9 p.m. I showed it to Robert. He was standing by his car in the parking lot. "We need those documents for the investigation," he said. "But we can't break in." Patricia looked at me, then at Luce. "What if we just follow him? See if he's really destroying evidence?" Robert hesitated. "I can't advise that, but I can't stop you from being in a public place." At 8:45 that night, we were parked across from the storage facility. Rosa, Patricia, Luce, Robert in his car 50 feet behind us, 8:53. Kevin's truck pulled into the lot. We watched him get out, walk to Unit 243, unlock it, roll up the metal door. He started loading boxes into his truck. I could see the filing cabinet through the open door. Gray metal, the one from his office. "That's our documents," I whispered. "He's taking them." Robert was on his phone. "Yes, I'm witnessing potential evidence destruction right now." Pause. "Can you safely photograph without confronting?" the TWC investigator asked. Patricia was already taking photos, but I couldn't just stand there. I got out of the car. "Rosa, wait!" Patricia grabbed for my arm. I walked across the parking lot, straight toward the storage unit. Kevin saw me, froze. "What the hell are you doing here?" "That's my passport." "You have no right." He stared at me for a long moment, then he laughed. Not angry, just tired. "You want your passport?" He reached into his pocket, pulled out a key, threw it at my feet. "Here, take it. Take all this shit. You've destroyed my business anyway." I picked up the key. My hands were shaking. Walked to the filing cabinet, unlocked it. The drawer was stuffed with documents. Passports, work permits, green cards. I started pulling them out, counting. 47 documents. Not just us, not just the current workers. Years of confiscated documents. "They all left voluntarily," Kevin said. "I was keeping them safe." Patricia was photographing everything. The cabinet, the documents,
Kevin standing there. Robert was filming from his car. Kevin sat down on the edge of his truck bed, looked defeated. You have no idea what you've done, he said quietly. This company was my father's. I have employees, contracts, a family. So do I said. So does everyone you stole from. He got in his truck, started the engine, drove away, left the storage unit open, left everything. We stood there in the doorway, staring at years of evidence. Robert was already calling the TWC investigator back. You need to send someone immediately. We have approximately 50 confiscated identity documents and boxes of payroll records. Pause. Don't touch anything. Secure the location. Someone's coming now. I held my passport for the first time in 12 weeks. It was wrinkled, coffee-stained, but real. Elena started crying. Patricia walked deeper into the unit, pulled out a green card, stared at it. This is my mother's, she said. Her voice cracked. She worked here 2 years ago. Kevin told her it was lost. Luce found ledgers, old ones, dating back 6 years. There's 2 sets of books, she said. 2 completely different sets. I walked to the back wall. Something was hanging there. A whiteboard. Names written in black marker. Numbers next to each name. My name. Maria's name. Dozens of others. 2 columns next to each name. Paid. Actual owed. Kevin's entire operation. Mapped out. I took a photo. Sent it to Robert. He stared at his phone, then looked up at me. This isn't just wage theft, he said. This is racketeering. Red and blue lights appeared in the parking lot. The TWC investigator was here. This wasn't about 4 workers anymore. This was about 6 years of systematic exploitation. The investigation took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of interviews, documentation, sworn statements. TWC investigators talked to 23 workers, current employees, former employees, people who'd quit years ago and thought they'd never see justice. They found them through the confiscated documents in Kevin's storage unit. OSHA came separately, inspected the warehouse, tested the chemicals, measured the ventilation systems, found violations everywhere they looked. Robert Chen represented all of us pro bono through legal aid, free legal help, something I didn't even know existed until Carmen told me. The story hit the local news in week 2. Suburban cleaning company accused of systematic worker exploitation. I saw it on the TV at the clinic while getting my hands checked. Dr. Patel smiled when the story came on. Kevin hired an expensive lawyer, gave interviews saying he was the victim. That we were disgruntled illegal workers trying to scam the system. Gloria Hartwell filed for legal separation. Released a statement saying she had no knowledge of business operations. I didn't know if that was true or not. Week 16, the TWC released their findings. $127,000 in unpaid wages, 23 workers affected, 18 months of systematic theft. OSHA cited 14 serious violations. Chemical exposure without proper equipment, no safety training in workers' native languages, inadequate ventilation, confined spaces without proper protocols. The fines totaled $43,000. But the real number was the wage theft. $127,000 Kevin had stolen from us. Money we'd earned with our hands, our time, our bodies, money he'd kept while we went hungry, while Maria developed chemical pneumonia, while my hands got infected. Robert called me when the report came out. We won, he said. I was folding laundry at my new apartment, a studio I could barely afford, but it was mine. What happens now? Kevin has 30 days to pay full restitution, plus the triple damages penalty under Texas law, $380,000 total. I did the math in my head. That's not 127 times 3. Triple damages means he pays 3 times what he stole. It's the law. Punishment for wage theft. $380,000. Kevin Hartwell was going to pay. Not everything he deserved. But something. Kevin Hartwell didn't go to jail. That's the part that made me angriest at first. $380,000 in fines and penalties. Mandatory restitution to all 23 workers. But no handcuffs. No prison time. Wage theft is almost never prosecuted criminally, Robert explained. It's treated as a civil matter, not a crime. But there were other consequences. TWC imposed a consent decree. Kevin had to submit to monthly audits for 3 years. Surprise inspections. He had to post workers' rights notices in Spanish all over the warehouse. He had to attend compliance training. OSHA fined him $43,000 for the safety violations. 6 of his biggest corporate clients canceled their contracts. Quietly. No announcements, just gone. His business didn't collapse completely, but it was crippled. He sold 60% of the company to a competitor, kept a small operation running in a different county, probably doing the same thing to different workers, but his reputation was destroyed. The local news story made sure of that. Javier got fired 2 days after the investigation went public. 4 workers filed separate complaints about his threats, about him confiscating phones, about him calling people lazy when they were sick. Nobody in the industry would hire him after that. Gloria Hartwell took the kids, moved to her sister's house across town, filed for divorce, not just legal separation. Actual divorce. She claimed in court documents that she had no knowledge of Kevin's business practices. I still don't know if I believe that. But she left. And she took everything she could in the divorce settlement. Kevin's lawyer tried to fight the restitution, tried to argue the numbers were inflated, that we were lying about our hours. Then Robert showed them the whiteboard photo. The one from Kevin's storage unit, with all our names, all the real numbers. Kevin's lawyer stopped fighting after that. The money started coming in week 18. The check came on a Tuesday, $4,300. I stared at it for 10 minutes, sitting on my mattress in my studio apartment, just staring. It wasn't life-changing money. It wasn't enough to buy a car or put a down payment on a house. But it was enough to pay my landlord, enough to stop dodging his calls, enough to send money home to my mother for the first time in 3 months. I went to the bank, cashed the check, paid my rent in full. Then I went to the remittance center and sent $1,200 to Honduras. My mother called me that night, crying. Mija, this is too much. It's what I owe you, Mama. For the first time since I'd arrived in Texas, I wasn't drowning. Carmen helped me file for a U visa 2 weeks later. It's for crime victims who cooperate with law enforcement, she explained. You testified. You helped build the case. You qualify. How long does it take? Months, maybe a year, but you'll get a work permit while you wait. A work permit, legal permission to work, legal permission to exist. I cried in Carmen's office when the approval came through. 6 weeks later, I started at a grocery store 3 miles from my apartment. $12 an hour, real pay stubs, scheduled breaks, a manager who said please and thank you. My first legitimate paycheck made me cry. I took it home, framed it, hung it above my bed. Proof that I wasn't crazy, proof that work could be fair. Sandra and Yenny saw the news coverage, saw my name in the article, saw the story on TV. Yenny knocked on my door 3 days after I moved into my studio. We were wrong, she said. You were brave. We were just scared. I was scared too. But you did it anyway. She handed me a bag, homemade pupusas, still warm. We're proud of you. I invited them in. We ate together, talked about everything that happened. They told me 2 other workers from their meat processing plant had filed wage theft complaints after seeing our story. You started something, Sandra said. I didn't feel like I'd started anything. I just felt like I'd survived. But maybe that was enough. Maria got her check 3 weeks after mine, $3,800. She called me crying. I can finally go to the doctor. Real treatment, not just the free clinic. Her lungs were damaged, permanently. The doctor said she'd always have breathing problems, but with treatment, she could manage it, could live normally. The medical records Dr. Patel documented became key evidence in the OSHA case. Proof that Kevin's chemicals were dangerous. Proof that workers got hurt. Patricia got $5,400, the most of any of us. She'd worked there longest. She paid off debt, sent money home, bought her daughter the glasses she needed. Elena got $2,800. Luce got $3,900, not enough to change everything, but enough to breathe. The 3 new girls Kevin hired quit the day the news story broke, walked into the warehouse, demanded their documents back. Kevin gave them without a fight. He knew everyone was watching now. Carmen called me 6 weeks after the settlement. Wage theft complaints in North Texas are up 40%, she said. People saw your story. They're filing. Because of us? Because you showed them it was possible. You showed them someone like them could win. I didn't feel like I'd shown anyone anything. I just did what I had to do. But Carmen kept talking. The community health clinic created safety pamphlets. Spanish, Haitian Creole, Vietnamese, about chemical exposure, what to look for, what to do. They're distributing them to every clinic in the area. Maria's medical records had done that. Her suffering had created something that might protect others. Robert Chen called me a month later. I'm using your case to train other legal aid lawyers, he said. How to document wage theft, how to build a case, your notebook, the photos, the shredded memo. It's the perfect example. You're using my notebook? A copy. With your permission, it shows other workers how to protect themselves. I thought about my little $2 notebook, hidden in my shoe for 12 weeks, wrinkled pages covered in my handwriting. Yes, I said, use it. If it helped even one person, it was worth it. 3 months after the settlement, Carmen invited me to a worker center meeting. Just come listen, she said. You don't have to say anything. I sat in the back, 20 people in folding chairs. Most of them looked like me, scared, tired, holding on to hope by their fingernails. A woman stood up, early 20s, from El Salvador. She told her story in broken English. Her boss was keeping her passport, paying her $5 an hour, making her work 15-hour shifts. It was my story. Almost exactly. I raised my hand before I could stop myself. What's your name? Carmen asked. Rosa. Everyone turned to look at me. I worked for a man like that, I said. Half English, half Spanish. He took my passport on my first day, told me I'd get it back after 6 weeks. Then he said 6 months, then he said never. The woman from El Salvador was staring at me. What did you do? I pulled my notebook from my bag, the same $2 notebook, bent and worn now, but still intact. I wrote everything down. I held it up so everyone could see. Every hour I worked, every dollar he stole, every threat he made. For 12 weeks, I kept this in my shoe. I flipped through the pages, let them see my handwriting, my truth. They can take your documents. They can take your money. They can threaten you with ICE. I closed the notebook. But they can't take la verdad, the truth. Write it down. Keep it safe. It's the only weapon we have. The room was silent. Then the woman from El Salvador started crying. Thank you. After that, workers started asking for my number. New arrivals who needed help reading their pay stubs. People who thought their boss was stealing but weren't sure. Women who were scared to file complaints but wanted to know if it was possible. I wasn't a professional activist. My English was still terrible. I still had nightmares about ICE raids, but I wasn't alone anymore. And I wasn't silent. Carmen asked me to speak at a community event. 200 people, a real stage. I said no, I wasn't ready for that. But I agreed to an interview for the Worker Center newsletter, anonymous, just my story, no name, no photo. They published it in Spanish and English, distributed it to every worker who came through the center. The headline was simple, how I got my passport back. My mother called me after she read it. Someone in Honduras had sent her a copy. I'm proud of you, mija, she said. I cried for an hour after we hung up. 6 months later, my U visa was still pending. The lawyer said it could take a year, maybe longer. Immigration moved slow. I was still sharing a room, still sending most of my money home, still working at the grocery store stocking shelves and running the register. Still had nightmares sometimes, about ICE breaking down my door. About Kevin's face when he threatened me, about being deported and losing everything. This wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was real. I saw Maria at the store one Tuesday. She was buying milk and bread. We hugged in the middle of the aisle. Her cough was gone, actually gone. I start citizenship classes next month, she said. You should come. Maybe. My English is still bad. So what? My English is terrible. She smiled. We'll learn together. A letter came from the Texas Workforce Commission 3 weeks later. Our case had inspired the state legislature to increase penalties for wage theft, stricter enforcement, higher fines, more protection for workers who file complaints. Kevin Hartwell's exploitation had changed the law, not just for us, for everyone. The Worker Center asked permission to use my notebook in their training materials. Copies of the pages, examples of how to document violations. I said yes, on one condition. Keep it anonymous. They agreed. Last week I was training a new employee at the grocery store. Her name was Isabella, 19 years old, from Guatemala, nervous hands, quiet voice. The manager here seems nice, she said in Spanish. Yes, he is. I showed her how to scan items, how to handle returns. But if anything ever feels wrong, if your pay is wrong, if someone takes your documents, if something is unsafe, you tell someone, you have rights. Even without papers? I stopped stalking, looked at her directly. Especially without papers. That's when rights matter most. I pulled Carmen Rodriguez's card from my wallet. The same card Dr. Patel gave me 6 months ago, worn and bent, but still legible. Keep this, just in case. Isabella took the card, put it in her pocket. Thank you. I went back to stocking shelves. My shift ended in 2 hours. Friday, I'd get my paycheck. Real pay for real hours. People ask me if I regret speaking up, if I think it was worth it. Kevin still has a business. He never apologized. He never went to jail. But I have my passport. Maria can breathe. 23 families got their money. And those 3 new girls, they walked out before he could hurt them. That's not everything, but it's something. I'm still scared sometimes. Still worry about deportation. My English still breaks when I'm nervous. But I'm not alone anymore. And I know my voice matters. Someone at the Worker Center asked me last week what I'd do if Kevin came back. If he found me. I showed them my notebook. All those weeks. All those numbers. La verdad. Let him come, I said. This time I'm not afraid. I keep my notebook in my nightstand now. Don't need to hide it in my shoe anymore. Sometimes I flip through it, read the entries. Week 1 to 2, worked 70 hours, paid $157.50. Should be $770. Stolen $612.50. The first page, where everything started. I turned to the last page. The entry I wrote yesterday. Week 28, worked 38 hours, paid $456. Correct amount. First time ever. I closed the book. Justice isn't always complete, but it's worth fighting for. Courage isn't fearlessness. It's acting despite the fear. One voice, documented and persistent, can challenge systems designed to silence it. The paper trail, simple, handwritten, truthful, became more powerful than threats, more lasting than fear. I put the notebook back in the drawer. Tomorrow I work another shift, stock more shelves, train more employees. One woman among many, working, surviving, but no longer silent.